The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, translated by John Woods. The story of Hans Castorp that we intend to tell here, not for his sake, for the reader will come to know him as a perfectly ordinary if engaging young man, but for the sake of the story itself, which seems to us to be very much worth telling, although in Hans Castorp's favor, it should be noted that it is his story, and that not every story happens to everybody, is a story that took place long ago, and is, so to speak, covered with the patina of history, and must necessarily be told with verbs whose tense is that of the deepest past. Nor is that detrimental to our story. Indeed, it may well work to its advantage. For stories, as histories, must be past. And the further past, one might say, the better for them as stories and for the storyteller, that conjurer who murmurs in past tenses. But the problems with our story, as also with many people nowadays, and indeed not the least with those who tell stories, is this. It is much older than its years. Its datedness is not to be measured in days, nor the burden of age weighing upon it to be counted by orbits around the sun. In a word, it does not actually owe its pastness to time, an assertion that is itself intended as a passing reference, an allusion to the problematic and uniquely double nature of that mysterious element. But let us not intentionally obscure a clear state of affairs. The extraordinary pastness of our story results from its having taken place before a certain turning point, on the far side of a rift that has cut deeply through our lives and consciousness. It takes place, or, to avoid any present tense whatever, it took place then, long ago, in the old days of the world before the Great War, with whose beginnings so many things began, whose beginnings it seems have not yet ceased. It took place before the war then, though not long before. But is not the pastness of a story that much more profound, more complete, more like a fairy tale, the tighter it fits up against the before? And it may well be that our story, by its very nature, has a few other things in common with fairy tales, too. We shall tell it at length, in precise and thorough detail. For when was a story short on diversion, or long on boredom, simply because of the time and space required for the telling? Unafraid of the odium of appearing too meticulous, we are much more inclined to the view that only thoroughness can be truly entertaining. And so, this storyteller will not be finished telling our Hans's story in only a moment or two. The 7 days in 1 week will not suffice, nor will 7 months. It will be best for him if he is not all too clear about the number of earthly days that will pass as the tale weaves its web about him. For God's sake, surely it cannot be as long as 7 years. And with that, we begin.